G'day legends, g'day superstars, Peps here with Tip Outs round 6 selections for a massive round of AFL football. Now we're going to go with something a little bit different. Every man and his dog, ladies and gentlemen, we know when it comes to footy tipping, is tipping the winners. So we are flipping it on its head and we are going to select every week from now on who is going to lose. We're going to tell you who is going to lose and particularly why. And it's all kicking off Thursday, April 18th, 7:30 p.m. at Marvel Stadium. The Saints versus the Doggies, a classic matchup for Marvel Stadium. Two teams that love playing on the fast deck over there at Docklands. The Saints have been pretty good recently. The Doggies there up and down like a yo-yo. There's no Ugelhagen, no Liberatore, no Ben King. But when I put the two teams together and I'm thinking, who's got the better list? Who's got the better game plan? Better game plan definitely is going with the Saints. But I think the Doggies, even with Libber out, even with Ugelhagen out, they're able to cover all that down forward with Lobb, with Norton. You're going to have Waitman down at the feet as well too. Their back line is going all right as well too with the wonder-man Liam Jones. And no Max King. I think they're going to find that very, very difficult to kick their goals. So I'm saying the loser of this game will be the St Kilda Football Club. But don't surprise me if it is going to be less than 2 goals. All right, kicking into Friday, the 19th of April, 7:40 p.m. We're looking at the Adelaide Crows versus the Essendon Bombers. Essendon, sensational last week. The Crows, probably the win of the season, beating the Blues at Marvel. Two teams heading in with a bit of form. Essendon actually haven't been too bad over the last couple of weeks. Yeah, they've had their ups and downs, but they've played pretty consistent footy. The Crows were stiff to lose to the D's, had their great win against Carlton. I'm saying that Essendon will be the loser of this game, and the only reason why is because it is being played at Adelaide, and we know that Adelaide are a different team when they're on the Adelaide Oval deck. Rankin was magnificent, probably his best game, if not for Adelaide, for his career last week. And when you throw Rochelle into the midfield as well too, you got lots of options, lots of creativity. Tech's getting a bit more form. They are going to win this one, and I think they'll do this by 2 or 3 goals. The first 2 games are very, very similar. It could go either way, but I just, like I said, think the Dons will lose this one. If it was at Marvel, I'd flip the script on it. All right, Saturday, the 20th of April, 1:45 p.m. at the MCG. You know who we're getting into now, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Collingwood Magpies, the 2023 Premiers, versus the Port Adelaide Power. Port Adelaide, well, they have done absolutely everything right so far in season 2024, and Collingwood have had a very, very rocky start. I've actually said, have they gone from premiers to pretenders in the space of 4 or 5 weeks? When I'm looking at these two teams, there's one thing that really stands out to me when it comes to Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide, over the 20 quarters of football that they've played, they have won 16 of those. So they are on fire. Their backline is working beautifully with Radagalia and Alia down there. When you got Dixon up forward, when you got Rosie and Butters, Horn Francis, Wines, Boak running through the middle of the game. You got Houston there as well too. There's so many beautiful things to look at Port Adelaide. I think the Pies will give this a massive shot at the MCG, but I'm tipping that they are going to lose this one. And this one is also going to be a close one. I reckon it's going to be no less than 3 goals to Port Adelaide. They have just simply been on fire. And if they want to be a real premiership threat, these are the games that they have to win. Because as we know, Port Adelaide need to lock in their top 4 spot if they want to play finals football, but also getting a massive chance into that prelim, which is what everybody is looking for. All right. Another cracking game. This is a cracking round of football this weekend. Saturday, the 20th of April, 4:35 at Marvel Stadium. The Crown Blues versus the GWS Giants. You've got pretty much the in-form team versus a team that everybody with the navy blue jumper on is saying are a massive chance for the finals. GWS, if you think that Port Adelaide were good, GWS have been sensational. They've won 16 and have only lost 3 quarters of football. They've got the best record in the AFL. They've got the best percentage in the AFL. They are on top of the ladder for one particular reason, because they are even across the entire board. The only challenge that I'm going to see with them is that with no Sam Taylor, somebody's going to have to pick up Curnow. I'm not too worried about Mackay, but they're going to love that fast deck. On the flip side, though, Carlton are decimated with injuries. No Sard, no Chera at least. Doherty's not going to be there for a while, as we do know as well. That's going to be a beautiful subplot into the game. But I think that the GWS Giants, they will take this one out. They have been, like I said, sensational through this. And I just think it's going to catch up with Carlton with the lack of firepower through that middle of the ground. GWS are going to handle that quite easily. I think this could be a 4 or 5 goal win to the Giants and just once again solidifying their spot on the top of the ladder. Now, if you think the first 4 games have been great, let's get into the second 4 because Saturday, April 20th, 7:30 p.m. at the Jabba the Hutt, the Brisbane Lions versus the Geelong Cats. Hey, 2 teams in impeccable form. What a cracking win by the Lions last week at the home of football, the MCG. Knocked off the Demons. Probably the best game that they've played in quite a long time. The Demons couldn't have played any worse, but don't take that off them. Rayner was amazing through the middle. Charlie 5 times had a cracker as well too. Hipwood, Danaher, everybody contributed across the board, and the back line were really, really solid as well. The Geelong Cats, they've got the 3rd best record in the number of quarters won. So this is where it's getting a little bit interesting because they are so close to each other. Geelong they did get an early kill last week with the North Melbourne Kangaroos, and so that's pushed their percentage up a little bit higher. And don't get me wrong, I think that Geelong, once again, if this game was flipped and it was at GMHBA Stadium, I'd go with them. But I'm going with the Brisbane Lions. They're going to take a lot of what happened last week. They're going to be taking that forward. They've got their full contingent virtually of players available outside of Kitty Coleman, and they are going to win this one. And I reckon this is going to be less than a goal. And as we've said, there's probably 3 or 4 games that could be game of the week. This is definitely going to be one of them. So you want to lock yourself in. But I'm saying Geelong will lose by less than a goal in arguably the best game of the weekend, bar of the other game of the weeks I've already mentioned. All right. Talk about cross-country boxing. Talk about bring the mouth guards, boys. Optus Stadium, 6:10 p.m. on the 20th of April. It is the derby. The Eagles, what a win last week against Richmond. Fremantle, just do what Fremantle do. They're sitting nicely in the ladder at the moment. They probably played the most unexpected football. We knew that they had it in them, but they've had a really, really good start to the season and setting themselves up nicely. Can the Eagles do it 2 weeks in a row? Harley Reid was brilliant. Elliot Yeo was brilliant. Waterman down forward, magnificent. But I just think that the Fremantle Dockers are going to be way too strong, and that means the West Coast Eagles, who aren't familiar with winning, are going to go back to their normal ways of losing. I think this could be tight for quite a little bit of the game, but after halftime, I expect the Dockers to kick away quite easily. I'm going with about 4 or 5 goals and Luke Jackson to be given the BOG Glendenning medal for best on ground in that game. All right, Sunday the 21st of April at the SCG. Don't get me wrong, the Swans versus the Gold Coast Suns. The Gold Coast Suns have had the wood over the Swans for quite a number of years when these 2 teams have played, and I reckon this is going to be a barnstormer. 2 very, very hard midfields. 2 very, very explosive forward lines, back lines who love the contest. This is going to come down to who wants it more. If we're looking at the 2 teams as it sits at the moment, they're 1 quarter away, a 1 quarter difference in terms of how they're going. But I will say the Swans have a far superior percentage, and a lot of that comes down to their defensive work. So I think that the experienced Gold Coast backline and the experienced Sydney backlines will fight this one out. But I just think that who can I rely on a little bit more? I'm going with Sydney up at the SCG. So the Gold Coast will lose, but this will be quite tight. And I reckon this will be no more than 3-goal loss to the Gold Coast Suns. But I wouldn't be surprised, just on basic history, that they could pinch this one. All right, this is the game. We've had 7 absolute crackers. This is going to be a snooze fest. We're looking at the Hawks. We are looking at the North Melbourne Kangaroos. 2 teams who are pretty much average. Someone is going to win this game at 4:05 p.m. at Marvel Stadium this weekend. So who do we go with? North have got a cracking midfield. They've got a cracking young forward line, but they might as well have no one down back. The Hawks, they've been decimated with injury over the last number of weeks, but they're going to be getting a few back, we expect. Don't exactly have teams right now, so I can't say who. But when I put these 2 teams together, who do I trust less? And I'm saying North Melbourne is the one I trust less. I think that they can score quite well, and they actually were not too bad against Geelong, but Geelong were way too strong towards the back end. But I just think Hawthorn have got so much room for growth. They've got more experienced bodies in the midfield. Forward lines I'm not worried about, but I just expect that the back line of with Frost, with Sicily in there as well too, are going to be able to sustain a lot of the stuff coming in from North Melbourne's perspective. Larkey, love him. I think he's going to find it a little bit more challenging. And I just think that they'll be able to stop a lot of that. And I think that the forwards for Hawthorn are going to find it a lot easier against what North Melbourne are going to serve up. I reckon it's going to be tight for probably 2.5 quarters, but I expect the Hawks to kick away. I don't think it'll be a massive win. I think that they will win by 4. So that means that the Kangaroos are going to be your losers this week and still remain winless after round 6 of the 2024 AFL season. Richmond and Melbourne, they've got the bye this week. Thank goodness. It's one stress-free week. But there you are. There are Tipped Out's round 6 losers for this week of footy. Hey, if you like